Welcome to this professional development on classroom management by me. My name is Terrell Johnson. I will be your presenter for today. Classroom management. Although classroom management can be challenging for teachers of all grade levels, there are strategies that can be used to help maintain some type of order within your classroom. This is very important because as teachers, we must have an environment that's conducive to learning. No inducive learning environment, no teaching takes place. No teaching takes place, no students learning. No students learning, we got failing test scores, we got administration on our backs, we got parents on our backs. It's a whole mess if you do not have appropriate classroom management. So that's why I designed this PowerPoint, professional development, to help teachers who are struggling with classroom management. Classroom management is defined as the process in which teachers use to ensure that classrooms run smoothly without disruptive behavior from students. The key word here is disruptive behavior from students. Classroom runs smoothly without disruptive behavior from students. Very important. Again, you're looking for an environment that's conducive to learning. No inducive learning environment, students can't learn. If students can't learn, you can't teach, which means grades suffer. So we really want to get a handle on classroom management. And we want to do this as quickly as possible. That's why this PowerPoint is so important to me, as it should be to you, because I'm going to discuss strategies that will help. Classroom management. Take a look at this young man right here. This young man to me seems confused. He seems upset. He seems angered. There's a reason for that. He's not learning. He's not understanding. He's having trouble dealing with issues in the classroom. Behavior problems. As teachers, you have to understand that everybody does not come from your background. Everybody that has not shared your cultural background. So when students enter your room, very diverse situation. So you have to have strategies to deal with students who do not come from where you come from. They may not look like you, so they're not going to act like you. They're not going to do things you do. So you must be equipped with strategies to help you deal with these students, or it will be a constant behavior problem with 4 or 5 or 6 students all year. And again, you don't need it as a teacher. You can't handle that. You can't deal with that. So let's get into discussing some strategies. This first strategy is called follow the first step. A lot of times as teachers, we get upset with students, or we want students to do some things. We want it done right now. So when we want it done right now, the first thing we start doing is issuing a whole lot of directives. Do this, do this, do this, do X, Y, and Z right now. The problem with that is a child is already behavioral. It's not going to take too kindly to a whole lot of directives to begin with. Plus, that's known to give behaviors that we don't need. So with follow the first step, start by just issuing one directive at a time. Line up. Go to your seat. After you get that first directive, allow the child time to absorb that directive before you give a second directive. See, when you say, go to your seat, take out your word, 2 minutes. That child is not able to appropriately assess that. So frustration builds in. Frustration leads to what? Behavior problems. So break down directives into simple requests. Makes things a lot easier, more tolerable classroom. Things tend to run a little bit smoothly, especially when we're dealing with transition. Keep your consequences minimal. Think about the type of consequences you administer to your students. A lot of times, again, classroom management deals more with frustration than anything else. You're already upset. Students getting on your nerves. So what do? no recess, no time out. You got to take a time out. No computer. You take away all the consequences from the child, you leave the child with nothing but behaviors. So you got to think about the consequences you give children before you give them to them. More importantly, this is the kicker. Teachers should not give the student the biggest consequence possible. That's going to the office. Once you send a child to the office, your power is gone as a teacher. You have no more power. You've given your power to administration. You want to come up with consequences that keep the child in the classroom, thus giving you the power as a teacher. Because it's your job, because they're coming back to class. So it's your job as a teacher to deal with that student. And start with the simplest consequence and see if it is effective. Oftentimes, the littlest thing makes the biggest difference. But you got to be willing to start small and then work your way up. It may be that the office is the ultimate consequence. But let's start small first. Sometimes a simple phone call home can correct a lot of situations. Appropriate curriculum. I cannot stress this enough. If the work is too hard for the child, that child is going to be a behavior problem. Not because they want to, they're being a behavior to divert their attention away from the fact that they don't know what they're doing. Let's be serious. If I can't understand what my teacher's asking me to do, or I'm getting given too much work, I'm going to shut down and become a behavior problem, not because I want the behaviors, but I want to avoid working. Assigning difficult work to a student can cause behavior issues. Very important. Some students would prefer to get kicked out the classroom so they don't have to work. It's not that they don't want to do the work, they don't understand the work. So if I get kicked out, I ain't got to do no work, problem solved. We want to keep the kids in the classroom. Giving them appropriate curriculum is the key. Rehearse transition, also known as modeling. But for this strategy, it says use a signal called Silent 30. Silent 30 is a signal teachers can use for effective transition between activities. And that means you give students 30 minutes, hence the 30 in Silent 30, 30 minutes from one transition to the next. Now, you can give rewards if students are able to complete the transition within the 30-minute period. This is also known as modeling as well. Very important to model what you want a child to do. Oftentimes, we expect kids just to know what to do. No. If you want a child to do something the right way, model what it is you want for that child to do. It works more successful, especially during transition. Show students that it pays to behave. When students show appropriate behavior, they should be rewarded. This doesn't always have to be monetary. This doesn't always have to be a snack. This doesn't always have to be something given to the student. Be something just as simple as verbal praise or extra computer time. No homework pass. You got to be creative. A reward system encourages good behavior in students, and it gives students something to look forward to. If you give the student the opportunity to work towards something, students tend to become more productive. Modeling ideal behavior. We just discussed modeling ideal behavior with the Silent 30. This gives it more in depth. If we don't model what we are trying to teach, then we really are teaching something else. Very true statement. Used to teach students appropriate behavior. Teachers model expected behavior. If you want a child to know what appropriate behavior is, you have to model that for that child. You model it, they see it, they know what it looks like, know what it feels like. More times than none, that child will produce appropriate behavior. But you have to model it. Very important. Let them know what you want them to do. Let students help establish guidelines. Hold the students accountable. They're in the classroom, hold them accountable for the rules. When students have to say, they tend to behave better when they have a say in the classroom. This also eases the pressure of teachers having to establish rules and procedures in the classroom. If the students help, they're more apt to go along with the rules. Write down the rules. Allow students to dictate what goes on in the classroom. Teachers develop a 2 to 3 page handout that outlines the rules and expectations. The handout should be detailed and state specifically what students are allowed and not allowed to do. Now, this handout needs to go home day one. Parents also need to know the expectations of their child within the classroom. Okay? Write down the rules. Encourage questions. As the old adage goes, there is no such thing as a dumb question. If a student needs to know the answer to a question, create an environment where they feel free to ask questions. This lessens behaviors because the student feels like they have a voice, they can communicate with the teacher free from the fear of embarrassment. Okay, so encourage students to ask questions. Now, conclusion. The strategies mentioned in this PowerPoint were intended to help teachers manage their classroom more effectively. As teachers, behaviors are a concern. Let's say that again. As a teacher, behaviors are a concern. Again, I want to reiterate my point that if the classroom is not conducive to learning, you will fail as a teacher. Okay? That's the purpose for this PowerPoint, to help you, those teachers who are struggling with classroom management. This is real. It goes on every day in every classroom in America. The successful teachers are the ones who are able to take the strategies, use the strategies, even create strategies from my strategies. You don't have to use my strategies directly as it's on the PowerPoint. Be creative. You know your students. All students are different. No two students are the same. Their students are just as unique as snowflakes. Seriously. So with that being said, you have to cater these strategies to what works effectively for your classroom. Having classroom management can help to ease some of the behaviors that are present in the classroom. Key word is ease some. You're not going to come to a classroom where there's zero behaviors. It's not even logical. It's not going to happen. But you can lessen your load if you come up with some strategies that are effective. My advice is to use my strategies and kind of, again, tell them to your classroom. Your classroom don't run like my classroom. But we can all agree you have to, and I keep saying this because it's very important. I cannot speak this enough. This presentation was designed for you to have strategies to help you with difficult students. Because again, if your classroom is not one that is conducive to learning, you're not going to be successful as a teacher. Let's just be real. You're not going to be successful. So again, I just want to read that last sentence for you before I end this presentation. Having classroom management can help to ease some of the behaviors that are present in the classroom. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to provide you this professional development. I hope that you use what's in here to the best of your knowledge. I hope you use this PowerPoint to help you really get a grasp on classroom management. Again, it's very important. I cannot stress that enough. My name is Terrell Johnson. This has been a PowerPoint on effective classroom management. Thank you. I'll see you again later. Bye.